Welcome, I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. Pause the video at the beginning here so that you can grab a notepad and a pen. I want you to make a commitment to yourself that you will jot down at least one action item, something that you are going to implement in your business today. That's what it's all about, implementation. All right, we have to revisit this idea of the tyranny of the urgent. And of course, I say revisit because I've done a whole video on that before. We'll put that link in the description here, and you should watch that. You don't have to watch it chronologically before this one, although it may be helpful. So if you haven't seen that, maybe you want to check out at this point, watch that video first and then come back to this one. I need to do a little bit of a deeper dive because the concept of putting first things first, and I'm borrowing these terms from Dr. Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about putting first things first, and he talks about the tyranny of the urgent, and he talks about looking at your day and organizing things, maybe even journaling things to ascertain how much of your day is dedicated toward those tasks which are important and urgent, which are urgent but not important, and which are not important and not urgent. And then by looking at this, you can kind of get an idea of how effective you are being. The idea is that you want to spend all of your time as a manager working on those things which are most important. And that sounds obvious. So much of this stuff sounds obvious, but I don't think this concept is something that really sinks in. And I got to tell you, I went through most of my management career really struggling with the tyranny of the urgent. So let's just define that. The tyranny of the urgent is where you're sort of tricked into believing something is important because of its urgency. So something that has a lot of urgency assigned to it makes you believe that it's important because it's got to get done right away. So when we define that, we're talking about urgency, meaning there's sort of a deadline that you have to have something done. Otherwise, the opportunity to do it passes. And there are a lot of things that are very urgent but aren't important for you at all. Don't check out right now. If you think, oh, no, I got it. I get the concept. I've got it. I almost assure you, you don't got it. You don't understand. Well, look at yourself and ask yourself how many things you have on your plate today. Now, I understand my audience can contain both managers and maybe people who are aspiring to be in management. So most of my comments I am directing at those who are in management. And by the way, anyone who is an entrepreneur and owns their own business, I'm including you because of course you have to manage your business. Maybe you've hired a separate manager to manage your business, and you are a business owner, and you get something out of this video as well. But most business owners are also managers. Most entrepreneurs have to have management skills. And there aren't that many who have taken the time to hire somebody separate. That, by the way, I would completely laud that behavior if you recognize that you are not a good manager, you run your own business, and you hired someone to manage the business for you. Still, there will be an opportunity for you to grow your business and grow your personal skills if you learned a little bit more about management, and at least be able to respect and understand what it is that your manager, what's making your manager, the person you hired, more effective. I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there. Let's pull it back in here. So I'm talking to those of you who are either running a business, managing a business, or aspire to do that. And I'm asking you to look at your day today. How many things do you have to do today? People often boast about how busy they are. Maybe they don't think of it as boasting. They maybe even think of it as complaining or whining. I'm so busy. And maybe you really feel that that is a problem for you. It is. I'm here to confirm that. It is a problem for you. But I recall in my management career early on, I used to think how great it was that I was busy because I confused activity with productivity. And productivity, you and I can agree, has to do with doing those things that are most productive, therefore most important. And activity can just be keeping busy. And you never want to have that feeling at the end of the day where you were just swamped, you're exhausted, you were working from bell to bell, pin to pin, you barely had a chance to eat, and you realized you didn't really accomplish what you had set out to accomplish in that day. So once again, I ask you for the third or fourth time here, jot it down on the notepad in front of you. What is it that you're doing today? What is it that is on your schedule? Now, hopefully you're not reactive and you're not letting your day just happen to you. That is a symptom in and of itself. If you come in and you just wait for the day to happen, that's probably because you're a very busy person. You have so many demands, and you have, it's a symptom that you're not productive, you're not working on those things most important, because you know you won't have time for those things. You're busy spinning so many plates. Those of you who go, actually my slate is pretty much clean, and therefore I'm looking at my two most important things and I'm going to work on those things. And I'm going to get right out of the gates first thing in the morning, I'm going to work on my most important item, I'm going to work on that. Those people are very effective, and those people, okay, you can tune out if you feel you've got this concept down. But I admit that, I don't know, in I would say 75% of my management career, I was a victim of the tyranny of the urgent. I struggled with it. Now I recognized it, so that was better than, struggling with it. I'd say the first 25% of my career, I struggled with it and was completely oblivious to it. It's like having a disease you don't know you have, so you're not doing anything to try to remedy. And then I started working on it. But the next, say, middle portion of my career, I just struggled with it, and I would sort of make a little bit of progress and I'd fall back. And that is the thing that I really want to address today, because I think many of you who grasp this concept about, yes, I'm committed, I want to work on those things which are most important, I just don't know how, or I'm committed to it and I find myself after a week or maybe a month, I'm right back into the old way of doing things. So many demands, it's insidious, they creep into your day. You have so many demands on your time. So I'm going to introduce a few concepts to you today and give you some tips for how to recognize this first and foremost, and what to do about it. Now, it wasn't, I did solve this problem. I said 75% of my career already struggled with this, and then more recently, I have completely solved this problem. And it all starts with a resolute decision you are not going back on. You're never going to change. You are going to fix this. And all you have to do is say, I just want to be successful. I just want to be effective. And if you're saying that, then I want you to open your mind a little bit here. You can disagree with me. That's perfectly healthy. But open your mind to the idea that I'm saying to you, you should only work on those things which are most important. Okay, and we want to, this is the first thing here, I want you, besides making the resolution and being very determined that you are going to make some changes, then what I want you to do is accept that we are going to eliminate anything of any kind of urgency. So I get the idea that things do need to get done, and especially those of you who run smaller businesses, you may be a jack of all trades and you are just got so many things on your plate, you're doing everything. And many of those things are urgent. Many of those things have a deadline. If they don't get done today, then we're in trouble, kind of thing. And still, I'm telling you, that is a symptom, and it is a sign that you're going to be less effective and less successful. Those people who are doing the same business, maybe you have something that's not completely unique, someone who has a similar business to yours, who's more successful, I could just about 100% guarantee that their schedule is much cleaner than yours, and they work on those things which are most important for the business, while you're sort of running around like the proverbial chicken with the head cut off, trying to do everything. So the three things you need to do to eliminate stuff on your plate, because we've just sort of agreed that it doesn't just disappear, or does it? I guess we're not in agreement on that. What you have to do is you have to delegate, number one, You have to automate, number 2, and you have to eliminate. So there are 3 things. We're going to dive into those a little bit deeper. So make a list of all those things that you're saying to yourself that have to be done. Like, if I don't do this, no one else will do this, and the business will fall apart. I understand that you have some of that. That's where you get started, is recognizing that you have a problem. The tyranny of the urgent really finds its way into email inboxes and social media and all sorts of things that are really, small little tasks that just take a minute, maybe only take a few seconds to complete, and you therefore put those first on your schedule and you look after those things. That's a mistake. Don't do that. Do not do that. So, but make a list of those things so that you can start to see. And what I'm going to introduce to you today is this idea that the higher up you are in the organization, okay, so if you have this organizational hierarchy, this chart that describes how high you are in the business in terms of running the business, the higher up you are, the less urgent items you should have to look after in a day. The lower on the proverbial totem pole, so to speak, that you are, the more, I guess, we can tolerate some urgent items on there. They're going to be delegated to you. And so that's why I said in the beginning, I'm trying to address this to those people who are in management or aspire to be in management. Your aspiration needs to be to remove, to the greatest degree possible, all urgency from your task. Those leaders who have nothing urgent to do today will be the most successful because they will focus on those things that are most important. Because those leaders aren't lazy, they are productive, they want to get things done. And since there's nothing demanding their time based on a deadline, nothing urgent today, they can focus on things which are most important. So that first concept is the higher up you are in your organization, the less urgent tasks should be on your plate. Now, if you're the owner, if you're the top dog, if you are the highest level of management in your organization, that means you should have nothing urgent to do today. Nothing. It's all important, not urgent. Everything that you should be focused on in a day is stuff that is important to do, but not urgent. And because of that, if there was a change in priorities based on, having to call an audible, something happened and changed how imperative it is that you do something, the importance of something changes based on some sort of outside force, you can actually pivot. You can work on something different. But be careful, because the tyranny of the urgent is someone will put a demand on your plate that is urgent, and you will mistake that for importance. Okay? Now, the lower you are on the organization hierarchy, the more it's acceptable that you're going to have some urgent tasks on there, but those will be urgent and important. You're not going to work on anything that is urgent and not important. So we said, first of all, you sort of make a list and recognize what things that you have to do, and then you start to chisel away at those things and eliminate them. You have to figure out how to get rid of stuff that's on your plate. Now, when I talk about eliminating it, it may not be eliminated as a task entirely. It may be just eliminated from your schedule and it's now delegated. So let's start with delegation. You have to delegate. A lot of you leaders, a lot of you owners of the business are doing way too much yourself, and that's why your business isn't growing. You're not focused on the vision of growing your business, of scaling it, of doing those most important things that are a little bit daunting when you consider them. You got to eat the elephant one bite at a time. It might be a huge thing that you're going to try to accomplish, a major objective as the leader that you're trying to accomplish, and you kind of keep putting it off or thinking, well, I don't have time for that today, so I'll work on it tomorrow. That is flawed logic. It's going to prevent you from being successful. You have to work on it today. You have to work on it a little bit. And then you have to organize it. You have to figure out a strategy for how to implement these things. That is, most of your work should be done between the ears. It should be mostly thinking, strategizing, organizing, and planning. And so other things that you may have been doing for the last number of years or whatever, You're going to have to start finding a different home for those things, someone else's schedule, and make a list of all the resources you have available to you and start delegating those items out. And just do it. And then you can empower your people for them to redelegate it to someone else. If it's a type of task that needs to be done, you don't really care how it's done as long as it's done. So start delegating that out to people who are lower, who are not responsible for the overall vision of the business. And you're the main person who's accountable for the success of your organization. So you can't delegate out the biggest picture items. You can start to delegate as you break those into projects and tasks of how you're going to bring those big objectives to fruition. You can start to delegate those, but to organize it and think about it and make these big decisions and to assemble the team who's going to help you create these ideas, all those things only happen when you have the time to sit down and start thinking. And a lot of what you should be doing as the head of an organization is thinking, planning, strategizing. Those things are done best, or maybe only done, exclusively done, when you have, a calm mind and you don't have a lot of things. You can't multitask. So forget about that. So the first thing is you're going to delegate. Now I want to talk to you that are saying, well, he's talking to people who have big organizations, who have lots of staff they can delegate to. No, not necessarily. Even in a small organization, you probably have someone you can delegate to. But companies like mine exist, and you can outsource. You can outsource and delegate to us. We can do, that's one of the main things we do, is we take on all the peripheral tasks for businesses, and our clients reach out to us so that they can focus on what they need to do to grow their business, and they take so many of the peripheral items of business, such as marketing and accounting and the operating systems, the IT, information technology, administration, all of these types of things, human resources, and they get us to handle those things. Now you can get us to handle all of that for you or a little bit of that for you, but the point is, you're wrong if you think you have to have a whole big team of people in your business that you can delegate to. You can delegate to companies like mine, and there are other companies that specialize in certain things that you can outsource to them as well. So I hope you will consider reaching out to us and taking a look at how we can help you. So there's the delegation and outsourcing, same thing. I'm using those terms synonymously. The next thing is automation. So many tasks. As we look at businesses and we look at how they do their processes, their procedures, we find that so much of that can be automated, that there's a whole bunch of superfluous steps added to a particular procedure because they're relying strictly on the human element. And now the technology is available to automate so many things, to make things just happen, or to make you that much more efficient and streamline and eliminate stuff. Now, I'm not going to take the time to give you an example of that. There are many, many examples, but basically, if you have a process, anything you do in your organization, of course you have processes, any process you have, any procedure you have, I promise you there is a way to streamline it and to make it more efficient through the use of automated workflows and all that goes along with that. I'm not going to elaborate too much on that, but that's what I'm talking about with automation. And for those of you who are not particularly gifted when it comes to information technology, again, there are companies like mine that can do that all for you. We would just sit with you and we would find out, what exactly are you trying to accomplish? What's your objective? Tell us, let's take a look at your procedure. How does it work? And then our talented individuals who specialize in doing just that, in the automation and the workflows, they'll set it up for you and we'll start taking stuff off your plate. Boom, 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 boom. And I can promise you again that the money it costs you to do that is going to be more than offset by the savings and the effectiveness that you'll add to your organization by focusing on those things which are most important. And then the last one is elimination. So I said elimination kind of overlaps with delegation if you're eliminating it from your plate and putting it on someone else's plate. But I also think you will find there are many things that you can eliminate, things that you may have done for years, and when you are truly analyzing the effectiveness of them, you might find, you know what, we're not getting a real good return on our investment for this task that I do. Or you individually are not getting a good return on your investment. Maybe it's a report that you're preparing, or it's a report that you are reading and analyzing. Or, as was often the case for me, there was a time in business where a particular thing needed to be on my radar, front and center, in front of me, for me to manage and solve a situation. And then we kind of got that under control, and somebody's still producing that report, and it's still being emailed to me, and I would look at it, or sometimes I was not even looking at it. What a waste. Make sure that you're eliminating those types of things. It's okay to admit, well, that was relevant last year, or that was relevant last month. Right now, that's no longer relevant. We're going to eliminate that. And sometimes you have to kill some old ideas you had, and maybe they're not producing good dividends. You're not getting a good return on the investment of resources being dedicated to that on your team. So you eliminate that from your team's plate, so to speak, and you can delegate new things, or you just eliminate them from the organization. So remember, you need to delegate or outsource. You need to automate, and you can outsource that, and you need to eliminate items. By doing this, you will get things off of your plate completely. You will clear your calendar, clear your schedule, so that you can focus on those things most important. The big distinction that I'm making today versus the last time I covered this topic is that those of you at the pinnacle of the organization, those of you who are the ultimate place the buck stops, the top dog in the organization, you want to have nothing on your plate that is urgent. It should all be just important stuff. And when you have something and you're being honest with yourself and you say, well, this is kind of urgent, I've got to do this today, then you realize, okay, all right, I'm not being as effective as I could be, and start. And I realize that this is not a binary thing that happens overnight. It's not like, okay, well, I'm ineffective one day, I'm effective the next. This is going to take work. It's going to be a habit, a skill that you're going to develop over time by practicing delegation, practicing to automate things, and working on things little by little, automating more and more, and by practicing the art of eliminating things completely. And then teach this in your culture. If everybody does this, everybody becomes more effective. Now, of course, you do have some things and you have some people in your organization, rather, who will not be able to delegate. There's nobody for them to delegate to. And that maybe is what makes them critical to your organization, is that they do the things. They have the things delegated to them. And that's maybe the frontline personnel. Those people are so critical to your operation. The key here is it's not on your plate as the leader. Now, if those frontline people could be doing something more important that no one is working on, that's not being done, then let's get them working on that as well. And let's try to outsource some more. Let's try to delegate. And what you'll find, or eliminate, we want to apply this concept as much as we can. So share the video with other people so that everyone in your organization can kind of consider this. This came up in my organization by somebody who really understands the idea of the tyranny of the urgent. We cover it all the time, and yet he was struggling. His day was full, and he was continually talking to me about how busy he was, and I had to say, well, I know that's a symptom of ineffectiveness. I have to point that out. And it's one thing to know a concept and say, oh yeah, I get it, I can discuss it, I've read the book, whatever. It's something entirely different to practice it, to implement this in your own life, in your own management style, so that you can be more effective. That's sort of the concept that I wanted to discuss today. I really have the feeling like I could harp on this a long time. I'm really going to emphasize this and ask you to do some introspection. Look at your schedule. Start with your schedule. Just make a commitment to yourself. Do me a favor. Eliminate at least one thing in your calendar today that is not critical important, and replace that with something that is more important, something that you've been maybe procrastinating and putting off, that is of greater importance. Even if you just get started, maybe it means you have to start writing a standard operating procedure. Maybe it means you have to start a new project plan. You're starting to look at that. I'm not sure what it'll be for you, but make a commitment. That's your homework. Eliminate at least one thing on your schedule. And then delegate something else. Have that list of resources. Brainstorm, who can I delegate to? And then certainly contact us if you have nobody else to delegate to on your direct team. Contact us and delegate some of your tasks to us. Remember, it's about leveraging your resources for maximum return. And if you, as the leader of your organization, the person who cares the most about its success, are working on lesser important things and you are a victim of the tyranny of the urgent, you are losing money. You are not being effective, and you owe it to yourself. You owe it to all the stakeholders in your organization, to the business itself, to do a better job with this. That's where I'm going to leave it for today. I'm interested from you whether this resonates with you or not. Please leave some comments and make sure that you push back. If you think that this is unrealistic and that I'm being impractical, or if you've tried this and you're just having the struggles and you're not sure, maybe there's something that I was a little hazy on, I didn't cover, I've got to get into more details on, then leave something in the comments. The rest of the community is going to read that, and everybody's going to experience something a little bit different, and we can all learn from one another. We need to learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.